Beelzebub's Tales to His Grandson, Chapter 26, The Legomenism Concerning the Deliberations of the Very Saintly Ashiata Shiamash, under the title of The Terror of the Situation. The legomenism, Beelzebub continued to speak, through which the deliberations of the very saintly Ashiata Shiamash were transmitted, had the following contents. It began with the prayer, "In the name of the causes of my arising, I shall always strive to be just towards every already spiritualized origination and towards all the originations of the future spiritualized manifestations of our common Creator, Almighty Autocrat Endlessness. Amen. To me, a trifling particle of the whole of the great whole, it was commanded from above to be coated with the planetary body of a three-centered being of this planet, and to assist all other such beings arising and existing upon it, to free themselves from the consequences of the properties of that organ which, for great and important reasons, was actualized in the presences of their ancestors. All the sacred individuals here before me, specially and intentionally actualized from above, have always endeavored, while striving for the same aim, to accomplish this task laid upon them through one or other of those three sacred ways for self-perfecting, foreordained by our endless Creator Himself, namely, through the sacred ways based on the being impulses called faith, hope, and love. When I completed my 17th year, I began, as commanded from above, to prepare my planetary body in order, during my responsible existence, to be able to be impartial. At this period of my self-preparation, I had the intention, upon reaching responsible age, of carrying out the task laid upon me through one or other of the said three sacred being impulses also. But when, during this period of my self-preparation, I chanced to meet many beings of almost all types formed and existing here in the city of Babylon, and when, during my impartial observations, I constated many traits of their being manifestations, there crept into me and progressively increased an essence doubt as to the possibilities of saving the three-centered beings of this planet by means of these three sacred ways. The different manifestations of the beings I then encountered, which increased my doubts, gradually convinced me that these consequences of the properties of the organ Kundabuffer, having passed by heredity through a series of generations over a very long period of time, had ultimately so crystallized in their presences that they now reached contemporary beings already as a lawful part of their essence, and hence these crystallized consequences of the properties of the organ Kundabuffer are now, as it were, a second nature of their common presences. So when I finally became a responsible being, I decided that before making my choice among the mentioned sacred ways, I would bring my planetary body into the state of the sacred Kshirknara, that is, into the state of all-brained, balanced being perceptiveness, and only when already in that state to choose the way for my further activities. With this aim, I then ascended the mountain Vezinyama, where for 40 days and nights I knelt on my knees and devoted myself to concentration. A second 40 days and nights I neither ate nor drank, but recalled and analyzed all the impressions present in me of all the perceptions I had acquired during my existence here, during the period of my self-preparation. A third 40 days and nights I knelt on my knees and also neither ate nor drank, and every half hour I plucked 2 hairs from my breast. And only when, thereafter, I had finally attained complete freedom from all the bodily and spiritual associations of the impressions of ordinary life, I began to meditate how to be. These meditations of my purified reason, then, made it categorically clear to me that to save the contemporary beings by any of the sacred ways was already too late. These meditations of mine made it categorically clear to me that all the genuine functions proper to man being, as they are proper to all the 3-centered beings of our great universe, had already degenerated in their remote ancestors into other functions, namely into functions included among the properties of the organ Kundabuffer, which were very similar to the genuine sacred being functions of faith, love, and hope. And this degeneration occurred in all probability in consequence of the fact that when the organ Kundabuffer had been destroyed in these ancestors, and they had also acquired in themselves factors for the genuine sacred being impulses then, as the taste of many of the properties of the organ Kundabuffer still remained in them, these properties of the organ Kundabuffer, which resembled these 3 sacred impulses, became gradually mixed with the latter, with the result that there were crystallized in their psyche the factors for the impulses faith, love, and hope, which, although similar to the genuine, were nevertheless somehow or other quite distinct. The contemporary 3-centered beings here do at times believe, love, and hope with their reason as well as with their feelings. But how they believe, how they love, and how they hope, it is exactly in this that all the peculiarity of these 3 being properties lies. They also believe, but this sacred impulse in them does not function independently as it does in general in all the 3-brained beings existing on the various other planets of our great universe, upon which beings with the same possibilities breed. But it arises dependent upon some or other factors, which have been formed in their common presences, owing as always to the same consequences of the properties of the organ Kundabuffer. As for instance, the particular properties arising in them which they call vanity, self-love, pride, self-conceit, and so forth. In consequence of this, the 3-brained beings here are for the most part subject just to the perceptions and fixations in their presences of all sorts of Sinkarpusarams, or as it is expressed here, they believe any old tale. It is perfectly easy to convince beings of this planet of anything you like, provided only during their perceptions of these fictions there is evoked in them and there proceeds, either consciously from without or automatically by itself, the functioning of one or another corresponding consequence of the properties of the organ Kundabuffer crystallized in them from among those that form what is called the subjectivity of the given being, as for instance self-love, vanity, pride, swagger, imagination, bragging, arrogance, and so on. From the influence of such actions upon their degenerated reason, and on the degenerated factors in their localizations, which factors actualize their being sensations, not only is there crystallized a false conviction concerning the mentioned fictions, but thereafter in all sincerity and faith they will even vehemently prove to those around them that it is just so and can in no way be otherwise.